my darling. Woo!
Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. Yeah, that's the right date right there. We're back here at Okemo Valley TV in beautiful Ludlow, Vermont. This is episode number 2 of the Tasty Twist podcast with me, Sammy B, where we interview local Vermont musicians all across the state, wherever they come from, get to know a little bit about their background, where their careers are going, how they got here, hobbies, food interests, vacations, life, stuff like that. And much like episode 1 with Allie T, thank you, Allie T, for being the first artist on the podcast, we have our friend, the Statue Buddha, where we rub its belly for good luck for everybody, because that is a thing. Well, in episode number 2, we have a very good friend of mine that I've gotten to meet a few times over the last couple of years, who is also from my neck of the woods originally in Connecticut. He went to school in Connecticut. He's been a musician just about ever since he was 10 years old, as far as singing, playing guitar, and just got more so since COVID into playing out and about in Southern Vermont, where he resides, and also works as a chef/deli at West River Provisions in Jamaica, Vermont, down near Stratton. And it's my good friend, I hope I get the last name pronunciation correct, Zach Yakaitis, also known as Zach Yak. How are you, sir? Spot on?
Very well. And you?
Very good. I'm doing all right, man. Well,
Awesome.
Much like last week with Allie, just did a little bit of pregame warm up with chatting and games beforehand. So let me know where you want to start. So you grew up in Connecticut, like I mentioned, and you went to school at UConn, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Nice. And what did you study at UConn?
I actually was in the agriculture school and was in the resource economics program.
Oh, very nice.
So I studied like business management with a marketing concentration.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And when did you graduate? What year?
2013.
2013. Yeah, because you're just a couple years younger than me. Actually, so I got a second bachelor's degree when I went to WestConn in Danbury. And so I also graduated in 2013, my second major.
Wow.
So
I did not know that.
Yeah, music performance and business management. So who were some of your biggest musician and band influences growing up, like when you were first starting to play guitar?
I'd say the biggest one when I was like that got me playing the guitar, that was like, oh man, listening to this album and like these albums, Jack Johnson.
Nice.
No question.
Which album?
I'm all of them.
All of them.
Literally
yeah.
all of them. I remember a good family friend gave me the On and On album, which I believe is his first studio album. And I remember having it for like a couple of years and like never like, I liked it, but I never like cracked that border and that boundary of like listening to music like passionately, I feel like. And then all of a sudden one day, like that album broke through, and then it felt like then he came out with more stuff within the next couple of years. And I was just like so deep into it.
Was he originally a teacher? I know surfing is his big claim to fame outside of music, but was he ever like singer-songwriter Amos Lee, who I saw recently? Wasn't he a teacher at one point, or was he always a musician from the start?
Don't remember that.
Did you ever see him live?
Amos Lee?
Jack Johnson.
Jack, I've seen a few times.
Or Amos Lee, or
I have not
both.
seen
Yeah.
Amos Lee, no.
Both incredible performers, man.
I've seen
Incredible.
Jack a number of times. That was one of the first like big concerts I went and saw in Hartford growing up.
Meadows?
At the Meadows.
We still call it the Meadows? I still call it the Meadows. Yeah.
I
can't call it what it is now. It's changed names so much.
It will always be the Meadows for me. But yeah, Jack was awesome. We talked a little bit about it before we started recording, but Jimmy Buffett, my parents were such a huge influence on me musically.
Did you get to see him live before he passed recently?
I did. When I lived in Houston, this is so crazy. When I lived in Houston, my dad, I was buying a new car from a dealer in Massachusetts, and my dad drove it down to me in Texas.
Wow.
And in the weekend that he just so happened to be in Texas, Jimmy Buffett was in town.
Wow.
And my dad, like I said, like huge Jimmy Buffett fan. So we were like, well, thank you, so much for coming and taking the car. And we're going to take you out to the show as a thank you and fly you home and everything. And we went to the show. JJ Watt.
Oh, from the Texans.
From the
Texans.
No
kidding. Wow.
On the bongos. Wow. Yeah, it was a very entertaining show.
Did you ever hear the cool story about JJ Watt from 2015 or 2016? I want to say you probably heard this background. He donated his entire year's salary for the victims of Hurricane Andrew. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So he, it was He may have also done that.
Yeah.
But I think what he's really known for is Hurricane Harvey, because that's the one that hit
Harvey,
Houston, and
that's
I was
right.
I was
Okay,
living
yeah,
there at the
right,
time,
right.
and he totally like led the charge, and he donated some insane amount of money and kind of challenged other celebrities and athletes to get involved, and they raised some insane amount of money in a matter of days. It was really powerful.
That's a great feel-good story, especially celebrities, athletes, anybody that is on that next tier of fame and net worth to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not just in the case of an emergency, but just in general, want to build for communities and homeless people. And just those feel-good stories you want to hear more of in the world today.
And you're right. We do hear a lot more about the like emergency ones, but then there's people like LeBron. LeBron has I saw some insane stat about how many kids he's put through college.
Oh yeah.
It's thousands and thousands.
It's amazing.
And he's done some really cool things. And I think that is, a really cool way to use a person's accomplishments.
Be a great thing to strive for us if we ever made it. To set the example.
Right. And I think we do what we can with what we have at this time. And that's all you can do. But it's totally, powerful to see that happen when it does. And like I said, I lived in Houston at the time that happened. So that was like personally for me, super powerful.
You obviously were okay. Like your neighborhood was okay.
My apartment complex was fine because it was on like a plot that was higher, but literally like within, I'm not even kidding, a quarter mile of my apartment, like there was communities flooded out. There was entire apartments flooded out. People carrying everything they owned down the street. It was insane.
Oh man.
It was insane because the whole city is just like very low lying. And they just got whacked with a ton of rain. And I-10 ran like right in front of my apartment complex. Sure. There was SUVs that were underwater, like right in front of our apartment. So like, the roadways that were low lying, picked up a ton of water. We couldn't really get around. And I remember I was working in commodities for an oil and gas company. I was actually
this the sales position that you had?
This was one time that I was out of sales, and I was just what was the name? A settlements analyst. So I did billing. Gotcha. So I would send bills to oil companies for selling this natural whatever, yada yada. And I remember like going into the office for a day, and it took like 2.5 hours to get literally like a mile and a half. And I was like, dude, I can't keep doing this. I'm going to work from home. So I worked from home, and then I'm like watching the news. And again, like thinking about within 1 mile of where I sit right now, there are like perhaps 1 million people that could use a hand for whatever, maybe not dire situation, but could use a hand with what they're dealing with.
For sure.
And I was like, I can't sit here and do this right now.
Right.
And so I messaged my boss and was like, hey man, I'm not just going to bail. I'm telling you what's going on, but I need to go help right now.
It's kind of a similar scenario of how the community here in Ludlow pulled through a year ago with July 2023. But a lot more people obviously down in that area. Staying on that really quickly, did they have music benefit concerts for this after this was all said and done?
I don't specifically remember any.
Yeah. When you were living down in Texas,
Houston, that's such a huge city. So you know what I mean? It's totally possible that things went on that I had never heard about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Were you playing music down in Texas when you lived down there?
I used to play. I've like had, and I don't know if you have as well, but like a weird relationship with that. Like there would be times when I lived in Texas that my guitar would be on its stand in the living room for 3 months without being touched.
Yeah.
And I was just a different chapter.
It's an odd feeling, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't happen now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Obviously.
It can't. But if I get 2 or 3 days without touching it, that feels weird at this point. But I played in like 1 or 2 open mics when I in the 4 years that I lived in Houston. I didn't get out a ton.
How's the music scene down there?
It was cool. Very, very different, very different. And now I live there almost 10 years ago now. So, you know, it
Crazy
was
how time flies.
It is crazy.
Did you ever make it to Austin?
Yeah, Austin was amazing.
How was
Music
that?
scene, amazing.
Did you ever get a picture with the Stevie Ray Vaughan statue?
I did not. No. But you could walk into any restaurant, any scene, any night, and
Always bands.
or it could be one singer-songwriter, but it would be somebody incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was like a really, really cool place to visit. Houston, I didn't like, the culture wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I got to be involved in lacrosse and I got to like coach down there and everything. But the music, I mean, like I said, it wasn't a huge part of my life at that moment. I played at home a lot and I sang to myself and, you know, but I wasn't really out performing. It wasn't till I got, you know, I moved back up here, kind of went, you know, figuring things out, finding my way, and eventually ended up.
And you live in Jamaica, Vermont now, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Is that where you always lived before you moved and then back?
No. So I grew up in Mystic, Connecticut.
Oh, after the Connecticut part, I'm sorry. Like when you moved up to Vermont first, or did you go Connecticut, Texas, then Vermont?
Yeah. So basically Connecticut, and then like a different part of Connecticut for a short time, right? And then Houston. And then back to Connecticut, and there was like a moved home and like took a couple months and kind of was trying to get my head screwed on.
Yeah.
I was actually living with my brother and my younger cousin, who I don't know if you've seen on social media, but they're called Primo. They have a group down in Connecticut.
Yeah. Which one? Your
my brother's Alec.
Alec, that's
Yep.
right.
And then my cousin is Connor.
Gotcha. Okay, right.
Yakaitis.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. So did you ever play in band settings with them, or they just kind of have their own thing?
Yeah, a couple times we tried. You know, there was, things don't always work out, and
Creative
we were trying to
differences
do
are
it.
just different.
Yeah, we were
right.
trying to do it with like a fairly big group of people who we weren't all on the same commitment levels, and you know how that goes.
Yeah. It's very tough unless you have a band that's really on the same page right away with goals, especially a personal life end also as well too. It's very tough to maintain that lifestyle.
Super, because it takes a lot of work to go out and play together, and to get together and practice, and to go play a gig. It's a lot of trust.
Absolutely,
it's a lot of
communication,
emotion, communication, everything, and if it doesn't go right, it can be a huge drain.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it goes right, it can be such a huge boost.
Oh, it's like
so
magic.
It's like you don't really know how that's going to go.
For sure. So, Zach, you are primarily a solo artist now. You jam and collab with other musicians every once in a while, like our good friend Nick Breedis, who's going to be on in about a month or so for a recording with Liz Reedy. But tell us a little bit about, so you had a weekly residency at Dover Bar and Grill, right? Like various places down at like Mount Snow. And you also host trivia on Tuesday nights. Shout out to New American Grill in Londonderry, Vermont.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us about like some of your favorite venues down there. What's on the horizon? I know you've also been doing a lot of stuff up at Killington and sometimes Ludlow too, correct?
Yeah, occasionally. So last winter I was playing at the Black Diamond Grill, which is connected to the Last Chair.
Last Chair, yeah. That's a great spot.
Awesome spot.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of my favorites. I've had a handful of really great gigs over in Dover recently. I don't know if there's something in the water or what, you know what I mean? But like the staff, plural, are always so friendly and welcoming and helpful. And as you know, that's not the case every place you go.
Sure.
And that's not anything against any other place. But when it is like that positive and that welcoming and everything, like it totally sticks out and it makes it so that you're stoked to go back.
You ever view it as if you're on a sports team where everybody has a role, but we all have the same collective goal? That could be a great perspective to look at it as a musician or a restaurant worker. I think
we're a team.
We all have. Yeah, we are. We're a team.
Totally think that. I think we're all working together to ensure that the customers that come in tonight have a great time and want to come back here again. Mm-hmm. So it's huge to me. And it's really interesting how, you know, different places bring different artists in, and, you know, how like your solo set will be a completely different experience than mine, completely different from, you know, Ali T, and completely different from Nick, and completely different from Liz. But they all tend to accomplish the same kind of thing. It's interesting.
Which is, it's about reading the room. It's about keeping yourself entertained as a performer doing your own thing, but you also know that you make sure your volume is right. You make sure that you're health-wise, physically, and mentally in decent enough shape to give it your all every single night. One of the big things, and I know you do it also as well too, I try to always incorporate in my solo shows, is mentioning every couple of songs. Thank you for hanging out here. You know, once again, my name is Zach Yak or Sammy B. Take care of your servers and bartenders and everybody in the restaurant doing a phenomenal job. Mention, if you're on Spotify, mention that you have merch, stickers, cards, stuff like that, because people could be on their phones or they could be completely zoned in, but it's good to have those helpful reminders every once in a while.
And that is one thing that I picked up, like when I went to see you the other night, like you are so good at that stuff, and having it not come off as cheesy, and having it not come off as self-promotion. And it's like, that is something that, you know, I don't want
team environment, keep everybody involved.
You know, yeah, dude, but like you're good at it, and it's not.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's not something I'm great at. It's
watching those videos, man, you did it quite a bit. I thought you did a great job, you know? Yeah.
The band videos.
The band.
Yeah. When I'm with my guys, right? Then it's way less awkward to say, hey, support us. Right? But for me to be like, oh, please support me, is I don't know. Maybe that's my own thing I got to work on. You know what I mean? But it's not easy for me.
There's no, I don't think there's any science to it, because I'm still figuring it out at almost 35 years old and 20 years performing as a solo acoustic and band musician. It's a fine line between shameless promotion, but also making it most importantly about the audience.
Well, and it's necessary, right? Yeah. It is necessary to a degree. And so I'm always very big to say thank you for coming out, for supporting live music. You know, please make sure you take care of the staff. I try to, you know, my name, but like same thing, dude, like you've got the really nice little plaque, right, that has your name and your social media and the Venmo on it.
QR code, because everyone's on the phone.
Yeah.
QR code.
And so like that's, you know, I try to make time to go out and watch other people do what I do. Yeah. Like you and like other, I said, like Nick. Nick is super professional. Liz and Jenny Porter, right? Like, there's so many awesome people up this way. That
Jim Yeager is another great one who's actually on here next Tuesday from now. Shout out to Jim Yeager. He's going to be here next week. So,
and so I've gone and watched y'all and tried to learn from you. And, you know, I've got a big list of things that I am working on or, you know, want to do.
I think you've made incredible strides. You know, I say that truly. You've made incredible strides watching the videos. Getting back to influences, like Jack Johnson, you were saying is one of your biggest influences. Yeah. When you first started playing guitar, was it more about figuring out chords first or pentatonic scales? I mean, we can even kind of, you know, bring our guitars out now too, if you want to just show like a little bit of. Is it more open chords, bar chords, scales?
Well, if we're talking about the beginning.
Yeah, the beginning.
When I started playing, it was definitely open
chords. In the beginning. That's a great song. Yeah.
Yeah, back then it was definitely open chords only. You know, like that's part of why I think I liked Jack Johnson so much was the simplicity.
Yeah.
And my first guitar that I got was actually, a Fender Squier Stratocaster.
Yeah.
And so it's an electric guitar, and it came with an amp and everything. And it was like, you know, I think my parents were like, oh, you want to play guitar? Like, here you go, rock and roll. And I really, something about the simplicity of Jack Johnson and his music and the being able to take an acoustic guitar.
He's got great messages to his songs also too, doesn't he? Like such simple messages.
You know, like I grew up going to the beach. And we used to go up and sit on the lifeguard stand and play music. And I'd play my acoustic guitar and my cousin would have a paint drum or something like that he'd be drumming on. And that simplicity was always just such a big thing to me, which is hilarious because now I've got this like monstrosity of equipment, like Frankenstein over here. It
makes Frankenstein type sounds also too.
It does. Yeah. And it's funny that's the direction I've gone in. When, like I said, the inspiration was things like, good
old standard
On and On,
major.
right? So
B, right? Yeah.
Yep.
F sharp minor, nice.
Yeah, this was advanced.
Yeah.
At that time.
It's like when you're first figuring out like bar chords, the pain on your
was
index
impossible.
finger. Dude, the pain on your index finger.
I remember that being a huge thing of like, and when I did start to figure out bar chords and like then understanding the theory that it's like, oh, it's an E shape.
Yeah.
It's an E shape.
Did you take lessons anytime in Connecticut or Vermont? Have you taken guitar lessons?
Yeah. When I was a kid and just got started, I took lessons for maybe 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
He was a nice guy.
Did he have you do sight reading too?
No.
No.
Okay. He basically was using a handful of Beatles songs to teach me. And I, unfortunately...
There's like 257 of them, so I'm curious like which ones he...
I've never been a huge Beatles fan. It just didn't click for me.
Yeah.
There's a handful of songs that I love, and I'm like, I totally respect the beauty of all of it.
Yeah.
But when you're a 12-year-old kid... and you're picking up that guitar, and you're so far from being able to play a song when you first start, right?
Right.
You are so far away from that.
Unless you're the great Derek Trucks.
Yes, right. And I certainly was not, and
Shout out
to
to
this
Derek and
day,
Susan.
am not. But like when you are learning and you've got 2 or 3 chords you can play, like you want to play something that you're stoked to play.
Yeah.
Right. And so like
because those are only the 3 chords that you're ever going to learn. If that's the only moment in your life at 12 years old, you're playing guitar. If you never take it to age 33 or 35, you want to do it confidently and proudly. The 3 chords,
the 3, and play the songs that you want to play. And so like just at that time, that didn't really jive for me. And so I kind of stopped doing those lessons. And I kept playing. I was always playing, like I said, like my cousins, my brother, my family. There's a ton of musicians in my family, and I have a big family on both sides. And
did any of them? Were they ever anybody in your immediate family? Did they make it to like a significant level, like fame wise or known wise? Or
Uncle Skip Yakaitis.
Ooh,
Uncle Skip Yakaitis,
Skip, I like the name.
was based around Hartford. And I believe was in a band. He was, I believe, the drummer of a band called the Wild Weeds.
That sounds cool.
Back in the 60s, 70s.
Cool.
And
what's the reference behind the name?
Not sure.
Not sure.
It
sounds so cool.
But
though. Yeah.
I think it was one dude that was in that band went on to be in NRBQ.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So it was like kind of like pretty legit.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
But yeah, that's something that all the, the old, my parents' generation in our family would all say, like looking at our generation as kids. And like so many of us were musical. They were like, dude, Uncle Skip would be so pumped about this. Like, cause like I said, I go out and play, my brother and my cousin go out and play and, are getting paid to go play gigs and play residencies. One of my cousins, Colleen, was a musical theater major and used to do plays in New York and out on Cape Cod.
Right on Broadway or Times Square?
Yeah. I don't, and in Hartford, I don't know that she ever did any like Broadway specific.
It's a cool theater. Have you ever been in this one, the Beacon Theater on Broadway in Manhattan?
No.
It's a great place. Used to see the Allman Brothers Band with Warren and Derek, not Dickie, but so many times in high school. Great venue. Times Square is awesome too.
What
if you
about
ever get a chance?
Radio City?
I'm trying to remember if I've ever been to Radio City. I've been to Times Square. I know that.
Yeah.
I've spent time there. But do you have a favorite shredding guitar player? Like you're talking like Jack Johnson, singer songwriter, but
sure.
shredder back in the day or currently?
Yeah.
I know you're a big fan of Goose. You incorporate a lot
time.
of Goose songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick is a heck of a guitar player.
He's a
Shout out
monster.
to Rick. He is. Yeah.
Ricky Snakes is.
Did you ever meet those guys?
I did.
Yeah.
Funny story. So the very first time I went to see him in 2019, my brother Alec had been listening to them and going to see them since like 2017. And like, you know, they're nobody at that point. They're like, nobody knows who Goose is. He's following them to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, you're insane.
Because they really took
guys?
off. They really took off. Excuse me, fame-wise, COVID, right? 2021 with the at-home live shows, right?
2019 was a big year for them, and they were really climbing. And then COVID obviously shut down everything, and then they were like major innovators on the streaming side of things, and they were able to really reach and connect with an audience through streaming. So then I think they gained a huge, you know, like they somehow made an advantage out of COVID.
Can I tell you a cool story about
I would love to hear it.
I don't know if I ever told you this. When you and your family have come out to see me at solo shows or when we were hanging out at Jack's one night, I jammed with those guys back in 2015 or 2016 in South Norwalk at this place. I believe it was called The Spread with my good friend Matt McNulty, and he had a band, Matt McNulty and Friends. And so I've jammed with I believe everybody.
It was probably Rick, Peter, and Ben.
I jammed with Rick.
Or not Peter, sorry.
I'm sorry, Rick, Trevor, and Ben. And I don't believe I jammed with Peter, but
No,
wicked cool guy also as
Yeah.
well too. Peter, I think, was in a band called Great Blue. I think he still plays with his band Great Blue every once in a while.
Yeah.
And my keyboard friend in a reggae band that I played in, Jeff Emborg, that was his band also too. Jeff
is a monster.
Jeff, shout out, man. I love Jeff. Jeff is
Big
an absolute monster and a great human being on keys,
Super
man.
nice guy.
Awesome
Yeah.
dude. Yeah. So I got to jam with Goose before they became what they are now.
That's incredible.
But they've always been monster players, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. They're doing it so right now in the jam band world. So
Yeah. My brother and I actually, and cousin, we all went to see Great Blue in Providence when they played a year or two ago in Providence, and got to say what up to Peter and Jeff. And that I contest was one of the most fun shows I've watched. As much as I love Goose and like their musical genius, like prowess, like is incredible to watch live.
Yeah.
Seeing the Great Blue show was really different and interesting because Peter was like unhinged. He was having so much more fun than he does. He was being silly.
Was this before or during Mustache? Because that's I love his mustache.
I feel like this was Mustache
His
era.
mustache
This was in
so
the Mustache
cool.
era. And he
photogenic.
Yeah, like he like got on the floor and was like kicking his feet in the air to play butterflies.
Little kid in like the what is it? The jamboree, the ball bounces at McDonald's. You know those things, the playpens?
Yeah. It like Jeff Engborg sat in and came up behind Peter and was playing the keys from behind Peter, and they were calling it the octopus with both of them playing. Like they were just being ridiculous, and it was hilarious. And you were in this teeny little club, like the size of this room with 70 people, and like when you can only see them with thousands of people now, that was cool.
Yeah.
But you asked earlier if I met them, and I was gonna say it was really funny. The first show my brother finally got me to go to in 2019 was Pizza in the Park in Stamford, Connecticut. And we went and...
How big was the show?
It was like a pretty much free, maybe $15 entry event in the park in Stamford.
A couple hundred people?
Max.
Yeah.
And they're setting up, and I see this one guy up on the stage, and I'm like, I don't recognize him from any of the pictures. And I said to my brother, like, who's that guy? He looks familiar. And my brother was like, oh, that's Coach. He's like their manager. And I was like, that dude right there for sure was my lacrosse coach at UConn, 100%.
Nice.
On the club team.
Nice.
And he's like, no way. And I was like, John Lombardi. And he's like, like, how do you know that, dude?
Yeah.
And so, then I eventually got to say hi to Coach. And so now whenever I go to see them, usually he'll like say hi, and he'll always make some comment like, oh, this is the only guy in this entire place who can actually call me Coach, because I actually was his
That's
sport
awesome.
coach.
Was lacrosse the only sport you played in college, or?
In college, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Some pretty serious intramural football.
There you go.
The
How about baseball? You ever play ball?
I played a lot of baseball.
A lot of baseball.
I actually still believe that I like accomplished the most in lacrosse, but I was way better at baseball than I was at lacrosse.
You a big Yukon Huskies women's basketball fan? Gino Auriemma?
I
Coach
mean,
Gino?
so much respect for Gino and so much for like everything their team has accomplished. I've never I've gone to a game, but I definitely wasn't like a huge, fan because they were winning a ton of championships. I've always been a big Yukon men's basketball fan.
Right.
Growing up, my parents had like season tickets and we used to go to a ton of games. And so that was always very much a part. And, we went to like the Jim Calhoun basketball camp as kids. And
Yeah. You mentioned you played in band classes or band orchestrations in high school and college. Is that correct? Like with guitar, or I thought you did. Or
No. I was saying I did play in college when we were talking earlier.
Music.
Yeah. But I house parties.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'd break the old thing out and be playing Wagon Wheel. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely,
and getting the people going.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a little list of tunes I did all the time. And I remember one time having a friend who was studying videography stuff came over and like wanted to record a bunch. And so we recorded a handful of covers.
That's awesome.
And it was, super interesting experience.
Yeah. Speaking of covers, you have a nice eclectic mix in your solo acoustic show these days. Buffett, Petty, Goose, Grateful Dead, Fish, obviously. How do you go about with your solo shows determining what works for both you and the audience?
Sure. That's an awesome question. I can't write a set list, right? Like when people are able to write up and be like, I'm going to play these 10 songs in this order. Like, to me, that is incredible because that I can't work like that.
Does it depend though? Like when you say that for solo or for band or both?
Regardless
to
me, I think if you were in a position like, Goose or, Jimmy Buffett, right. And you're selling out, the Meadows, then you can play whatever you want to play in the order you want to play it in, have a party. Yeah. But for me, like we said earlier, we're ambiance like 90% of the time in our gigs. So I've got to play something that's appropriate for this setting and this audience and the specific vibe and energy that we are at in this room right now. The vibration, the frequency, whatever you want to think about. And so I do, and I brought this for you. I make like almost like a call list.
Oh, nice. Show the audience also too.
Yeah. Nice. I make like a call list. So I'll kind of, throughout the day beforehand, or 20 minutes before I start playing, I'll go out and think about what do I feel like playing today? What do I feel like today? Looking around at the audience or what I know about the space that I'm going to, the specific time slot I'm playing, what the energy might feel like in there and what generally works there. I've got...
Do you listen to certain bands, albums, or even podcasts, for example, on those long car rides or van rides from gig to gig? Because sometimes that could be great mental preparation for artists. I've also heard too, correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes having complete silence in the car is actually good for some people. I guess it depends on the person, right?
And it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Right? It depends on the mood that you're in. And that's one of the things that I think we're both kind of getting at here is when you're playing, it comes down to the mood in that very moment.
Yeah.
On songs and the way that you sing and the way that you play, sometimes maybe there's a high note that you can get if you're feeling right. But as you're coming up to that part of this song right now, no, we're not doing it. No, ripcord that. That's not happening. Right.
Yeah.
I like to like write up a call list of songs essentially. Right. And then, have some things to pick from. And generally, I think similar for you, you'll have a couple of songs that maybe you're kind of practiced at like transitioning between these ones. I love doing smooth transitions between songs. And
it's also good to mix up
an end.
It's good to mix up the tempo and sometimes the chords also too. I like changing the chord progressions every once in a while on songs, but that might also depend on vocal range as well too. staying on this topic, what do you find to be easy about being a solo acoustic musician in Vermont, or challenging about being a solo acoustic musician in Vermont? And it doesn't have to necessarily be like the structure of being a musician in Vermont, but it could be anywhere in the country. Like, what do you find easy and hard about being an artist and entertainer?
Well, after getting started playing in a duo, and then having the experience that I have had with playing in a band and with playing with other people, the easy part of playing solo is that you don't have to deal with anybody when it comes to set list. You don't have to check
boss.
in with anybody.
It's you
can do
you're the guy.
whatever you want to do. Ultimate freedom.
Yeah.
Right. And with a loop pedal, like, to me, that gives me the ultimate freedom, because I can set a quick loop just to transition.
Yeah.
Like, literally just to take my iPad and find the next lyrics for the next song, or, set a loop and take 10 seconds and look down my call list and see if I have anything that's jumping out at me that let's play that right now.
Right. That's the beauty of a recording pedal, which both you and I have on our setups here, which we'll show in a minute when we jam. But it's a fun way of cheating. That gives you your chance to go, hey, I don't know what I'm going to play next, but now that I've got a loop on, let me look at this, or let me dig into my brain, and let your hand rest.
Grab a sip of water. I can itch. I can get that bug off my arm that's been there for the last 20 minutes.
The horse flies, which are out of control, and hopefully not a tick bite, hopefully. But, I love the reaction from the audience sometimes when we're hands-free and the music is still going and we take a swig of water. Some people are like, whoa.
He's a magician.
He's a magician,
He's a witch. Like,
wow, how does he do it? It's so easy, I could do it.
Do you know that the meme of the guy mansplaining, and he's
No.
He's at like a Astros. He's wearing a Houston Astros like jersey or hat.
Sure.
And he's with a girl at a baseball game, and he's like clearly mansplaining like what's going on. I had that happen while I was playing at a gig. It was actually up this way.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend was at it, and so she like told me about it afterwards, that she overheard the guy, and she was telling me that she was like, hey, hon, you've got to explain to people what you're doing with the loop pedal, because not everybody understands. And they think that you have like backing tracks or something behind it. I'm like, what on earth? Like, nobody could possibly think that.
Yeah.
And she's like, I swear to you. And I remember like looking at the guy, and
it is the case in some musicians though. They do have the backing tracks, depending on what they have technology.
I could have pre-recorded stuff in there that I could just go press play on if I wanted to. And I've thought about it. I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world either.
Yeah.
But I do pride myself on creating everything organically in front of you, and the flip side of that coin is some days I don't have my gas. I don't have my great, my awesome stuff in the tank, and my loops don't come out super clean.
There could be moments where you play a song and you actually don't feel like taking a guitar solo. That happens for me all the time. Yeah.
But this is not going smoothly.
But that's also one of those things, Zach. It definitely also depends on the audience. Are they feeling it or not? Yeah. While also keeping yourself entertained at the same time as well too. Do you do scale warm-ups or chord warm-ups at all whenever you play? Like before a show?
My warm-up these days is generally a lot of the time actually on my acoustic, because I play my acoustic a lot at home. And this might be still packed away. If I played, last night, then maybe I won't take everything out and set it all up again. And,
sure.
If I do,
you ever do like a recording, like you record a chord progression at home and just practice over major or pentatonic scales?
Yeah, I mean, generally it'll be more like song focused,
right? And do the chord transition in between.
Yeah, I'll have a few songs like "She Talks to Angels" is one of my go-tos. Like when I sing that one the way that I like it, right? I'm not gonna say the right way, but the way that I like it.
Yeah.
When that one works well, then usually things work out well for me vocally that night. So like sometimes it's only a one song warm up.
Yeah.
If I do that one and She Talks to Angels and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, and then sometimes that doesn't happen and you're like, all right, we're gonna keep going.
Got to really stretch the pipes on that. on that one right there.
And turns into a 10 song warm up. But then I definitely do like to, if I have my looper available, I love to, get some good loop going with a beat and like really like rip and shred and just like let loose and just like I
You made the guitar faces too?
I can't help it. It's visceral. Yeah, you know, it's like, yeah, absolutely they happen.
My girlfriend loves to call it, oh, you're making the Sammy faces again.
Yeah. With John Mayer,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. John Mayer wears the muscle shirts also as well too a lot.
He does.
Dead & Co. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really quickly before we get into some jamming, I just wanted to fire a couple of cool questions off to you. It's basic. Largest crowd you've ever played in front of for a show?
Well, I think I have like played like at Stratton in the Village, right?
the farmer's market?
Not the farmer's market, but in the late summer. I can't remember exactly what was going on, but it was like absolutely massively packed in the Village.
They have a great music scene there, don't they?
Yeah.
They get a lot of great,
And we had one gig where there was a ton of people around. In high school, actually, when I mentioned earlier, I played in like the talent show in high school. That thing was packed.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, obviously way early on in my career. I think I still have video of it. It's horribly embarrassing.
Yeah.
I played Don't Stop Believin' into Umbrella by Rihanna.
Is that one of your biggest song requests you get out at shows? Don't Stop believing.
No.
Freebird?
You know what the
it's always Freebird.
I was going to say,
it's
you
always
know what it
Freebird.
is.
But I figured there's got to be like a top 3 for most requested, right? Yeah.
I get a lot of Freebird, you know, especially when you're in the rowdier scenes, you get more of those.
Of course. The dive bars or the skiers, right? Yeah.
Over in Dover this year, I was getting a bunch of Taylor Swift.
Of course.
And I was like, sorry,
you can't pull off the chorus of Love Story.
Yeah, this
No,
33-year-old male has not learned a lot of Taylor Swift. I'm going to say a lot, but not any. But
yeah, kudos to where she's gone in her career, though.
Incredible.
In all honesty,
she's
like,
incredible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have a favorite live show you've ever done? Favorite show that really stands out?
Man.
Don't worry, the next question's a doozy also too.
Yeah. I mean, so I did the Fall Foliage Festival in 2022 was a festival that I put on at Beer Naked Brewery.
Oh, nice.
That was
just played there the other day. Love Beer Naked. Yeah, great.
Such an amazing space.
Great spot.
You want to talk about being inspired?
Shout out to Beer Naked. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about being inspired, like playing and looking around. Like it's amazing.
Whenever I play there, I tell people specifically go out and take photos on that patio, please.
Yeah.
If you're going to do anything today, besides hopefully listen to me or you, go outside and take photos of that overlook.
So you know how they have that like campsite up the hill?
Yeah.
And with its stage?
Yeah.
That's where we set up.
Yeah.
And it was like we had Primo played, my band at the time, Throwing Stones, played like a full band set, which was really great.
Nice.
We had Unqualified played a set. A couple of my buddies from Brother Guy were up and played a little bit. And then Kale was like the headliner.
Oh, cool.
And then we did a super jam at the end.
That had to be a lot of fun.
Literally must have been like, we got to like 13 people on stage. It was ridiculous.
That's awesome.
It was ridiculous.
That's awesome.
But
7
it was
guitar players. Like,
gnarly.
Yeah.
My buddy Emil, who helped a lot putting on the event and works professionally in like event production.
Yeah.
So like he's literally going out and working on like Electric Forest and like the very legit festivals that are out there, and like gets pretty much free roam creatively to be like, go make something dope in the entryway here. You know, like that's all. Here's your supplies.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's
and he told me that super jam, like specifically the opening number that we did, that was literally completely improv.
Yeah.
Literally was like, okay, E minor and turned into a vamp jam. He was like, that was one of the coolest sets of music I've ever seen.
Is there recorded footage of that, like people can find?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yeah. Under your artist, Rivers High Entertainment. Yeah. So for those that don't know, Zach is the owner, manager, and operator of his own entertainment agency, Rivers High Entertainment. Now, you book a lot of shows for artists through that, or is it specifically mostly your name?
So I really created Rivers High because I did enjoy booking for my friends and putting on shows and stuff like that. But the biggest reason was because I didn't want it to be like Zach Yakaitis Productions.
Right.
I didn't want to be Zach Yakaitis reaching out to book Zach Yakaitis.
Yeah.
I didn't like the feel of that for me.
You know what we should call it? Yak Man. Like Pac-Man?
Yeah.
Yak-Man.
Yeah.
That literally just came to mind.
But I think that's, a bit from, and you've obviously worked a ton in sales, but like, I think that's a bit from my sales background of like, thinking about where something comes from and how that impacts how you hear it and how you receive it.
Does having a sales background help with treating your music career from the business side of things?
Sure.
Whether it's merch or promotion or just
I
making
think
connections with bars, restaurants, and private events.
Yeah,
or other musicians.
I think it's really just having met so many different people and interacted with I have no idea the number of thousands of people that I have actually like met and had a conversation with. Right. And that's what happens when you do sales. Like you sit and talk to people all day long, every day for years. And it's, so I can, but how it helps me now is like, I can look out at an audience and get a pretty good feel for what next 3 songs are going to be pretty close to like what they want to hear. You know what I mean? Or if I don't know what they do want to hear, like same thing, getting close to it.
Yeah. While putting your own spin on it also too.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, and like while still having fun.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yes.
and well, like
that's what we're all in this for.
Yeah. Like me, like
that's what we're all in
where
this for.
there's that common ground.
For sure. Yeah. I know you have a wicked cool PRS right there.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite brand of guitar, or do you have a particular favorite brand of guitar?
I would say it's my favorite right now.
Yep.
For sure. At home, I have a Cort acoustic. This thing is super duper cool. It's super popular. These PRSs are super popular.
Camera can see it or not. Bird inlet. What's it called?
Yeah,
bird,
inlays.
bird fronts.
Pearl.
Inlays. That's right. Pearl
Iridescent.
bird inlays. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. They're all different breeds of birds too.
But it's dirty, so don't get too close.
Right. And then there's and then there's the stickers on mine right here on all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, which I like that though. That's like
See, a lot of them are starting to fade away.
Yeah.
That's like the part of it. Not fade away. Grateful Dead. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, this one is really cool. As I was telling you about earlier before we started recording, it's a piezo.
Yeah.
Which means that it has an acoustic preamp built into it. And obviously it's an electric guitar.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
I can get acoustic sounds out of it.
Is it a semi-hollow body or is it a full hollow body?
Semi-hollow.
Semi, okay,
so this
yeah.
is with it set to a more electric.
Right.
Which even that still sounds fairly acoustic. But then when so there's that, and then there's also, it actually has 2 separate inputs on here. So now when I go to this one, this is more of a straight up electric setting. So people who famously use this guitar and these style guitars were like Santana.
Yeah.
Santana always played a PRS.
Yeah.
And obviously is one of the shred gods of all time.
Still a monster 50 plus years into his career.
Yeah.
I think he's approaching 60 years now playing. Santana's the one that always comes to mind for PRS guitars, for sure.
And he also rocks, no, more so in the past, Mesa amp.
Oh, yeah.
Which I have.
Mesa
at home.
Boogie? Or just Mesa?
Not sure if it was a boogie.
The boogies are cool. That's let's jam momentarily. But last thing, guys, once again, we're hanging out here with Zach Yakaitis, aka Zach Yak of Rivers High Entertainment. So in addition to YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, are there any other streaming platforms that folks can find you and your shows?
No, I think that's it. YouTube definitely has a lot of my material on there on the Riverside channel, and some other really cool shows. Like I mentioned Primo earlier, some stuff with Nick Breedice.
Yeah.
Kale, Brother Guy. There's some cool groups that I've worked with on there.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that I still am working on with Riverside Entertainment is the Greenhouse Sessions.
Yeah.
Which I would love to shout out because we have an event coming up this Saturday, the 27th.
Nice.
Those take place at Our Mother's Garden, which is in Rawsonville.
Yes.
So that's like maybe 7 minutes from New American Grill, what we were talking about
That's
earlier.
not that far from the Burton snowboard shop, right?
I feel like it's across the street.
It's across the street.
Yeah.
there's the Rawsonville Market, I think.
The gas
also
station
too. The
is
gas
literally
station,
across the street.
And
yeah.
there's the other ski shop across the way also as
And
well
then
too. That's
there's
right.
the
I know where that
cannabis
is.
shop right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sign just says OMG, right? But it stands for Our Mother's Garden.
Our
Dude,
Mother's
that's
Garden.
so cool.
Yeah. So
That's
those
awesome.
people, Kevin and Alyssa, are the owners. They're amazing. They support the community. They want to be creating events for the community that, help out our local artists. And we create these really amazing evenings where they have 3 greenhouses, and one of them they do not use for product. They keep it open for us to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And we bring my light rig and my big disco ball, and we get full bands in there, and we get vendors, and we got Jasper Jen with the Oxygen Bar.
Shout out to Jasper Forrest. Yeah, Jen. Jasper
the
Forrest.
Oxygen Bar is so cool.
Yes.
I did that last time. We get there's a little girl that
Do you get your company that you work for a couple days a week, Rest River Provisions, there with Tara and Forrest?
They've been doing the food this summer, which has been awesome. They're
As I mentioned
amazing.
before, the pizza looks so darn good that you guys make.
The food, they always make great food. And they used to host music at West River Provisions, but we started having, issues in the community. You know how the small communities can be.
Yeah.
So we just decided to move everything to Greenhouse, and it's been really, really amazing. It's kind of, more traditional format of show where it's like a couple acts. There's generally like a first set, second set, and then either a third set or like a super jam collab kind of thing at the end.
Yeah.
So those are super fun, and we definitely look forward to that. And that's been one of the big things still that Rivers High is a big part of. Besides that, I work with Bromley, and generally help.
And you do shows there every once in a while, right? Out on the deck.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my go-tos in the summer. We talk about favorite places to play. Bromley is like almost top of the list for me.
It's another. I was chatting with someone about this the other day. You talk about what tends to work with audiences around here, and especially like the ski resorts year round, is music like the Grateful Dead, jam band music. It just tends to work. And reggae also as well too. Classic rock, you can't go wrong. But I was going to segue really quickly. When I moved up here in 2018, I was blown away how much talent and still is up here, arts and entertainment wise. I would imagine you feel the same way after you moved to Vermont from Texas, correct?
Yeah, totally.
It's incredible. And a lot of youth too.
Yeah. I was living in Boston before I really got into Vermont full time. And so I was seeing a ton of really talented people, and I was working with a group called So Far Sounds.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No.
Really, really cool. We would put on these really cool, intimate, like pretty private shows that you would have to buy tickets in advance. You don't know who's playing. You don't know exactly where it is, so you can't just show up later on. And you would get an email the day before, and it would be like, okay, the show.
Here we go.
Yeah, the show's at this address tonight. Right. Like that kind of thing. And you would know, that you bought a ticket for Friday night in the Fenway area, for example.
Oh, cool.
But then on Thursday, you'd get an email and be like, okay, this is the address. You can't tell anybody you have the 2 tickets that you bought.
Wow.
And we'd have somebody working the door and checking you in by your name and everything. And then you'd have 3 artists each play like a 20 to 25 minute set and have time to talk and share about their story.
Killer exposure, I would imagine, right?
I think this would be so cool for you to try. Because
Sounds
then
like
it exists in cities literally all over the world.
Whoa.
So then you could be in Rhode Island on a Tuesday on a tour and pick up a gig.
You're right. And then you could be in France or Sweden the next day.
And pick up a gig.
Yeah.
And make $100, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And have a really special engaged audience. So, that's a huge inspiration for me when it comes to the Greenhouse and the type of events I want to put on. And even the type of vibe when I'm playing solo or playing with my band, those events often come to mind, and the intimacy and the, like the vulnerability and the genuine like peace
right.
of just enjoying the moment and enjoying.
The power of music is great for
Yeah.
everybody, and I would assume this would be so good spiritually for you to be able to make this kind of positive impact
Oh, yeah. Big time.
with Rivers High Entertainment, or just for yourself individually, like doing this for the community, people, and other artists as well too.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling to do stuff like that.
Well, it's awesome, and I'm sure you feel the same. Like when I get a chance to go see another local artist playing,
Yeah.
I always jump on it, and every time I'm entertained. It's a great show. Like you said, there's so many talented people around here. So like last night, Jody and I went to the show in Pingree Park in Londonderry.
Oh, cool.
And Luminous Crush was playing.
Oh, nice.
And dude, they sounded amazing. Like they've been a local band for a few years, and they've got a couple albums out, and this was like a way more filled out version than I've ever seen. And it was like a super nice evening. We just went and sat in the park, brought the dogs, sat on a picnic blanket, and had a little bit of ice cream.
Nice.
Super chill show. Stayed for an hour or so and bounced, and it was like really, really nice.
There's nothing more enjoyable the older I get, seeing other artists around my age or younger or older just doing what they're doing confidently and having a great time.
Having fun, sounding good.
Yeah. Like when I saw you at Jack's after your show at the Foundry, you were just so happy. And I love seeing when other artists are like that, whether I'm performing for them and I see it vice versa. It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
So I think the music scene in Vermont is incredible right now, and all of us hardworking musicians, I think, should be very proud of our continuing efforts to build our career and help out restaurants, bars, and folks as well too who are supporting us. So, guys, once again, we're gonna jam a little bit. This is Zach Yakaitis, aka Zach Yak of Rivers High Entertainment out of Southern Vermont. Dude, it's been a pleasure having you here, man. Let's jam a little bit and play some sounds for the audience.
Sounds good, man. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Okemo Valley TV, for having us in the studio.
Yeah.
This has been super, super cool. Thank
Rebecca,
y'all.
Peter,
Appreciate it.
Patrick, thank you guys all for your efforts today. I know you're listening and enjoying every bit of this, as it sounds like we're going into Joy to the World. All right. Take us away, brother. We standing?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
You're the pro here, man. You're the pro.
I asked you before. All right. Take us away, my friend, with the Boss RC300. All right. We're doing it. At least 7 more. I gotta do it. God, I felt my bones just cracking there for a minute. job, man.
Yeah.
We had an excellent time here on episode number 2 of the Tasty Twist. I want to thank you, sir, Zach Yak, for being on here at Rivers High Entertainment. Don't forget to check him out on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram for his solo shows or his band shows. And once again, I'm Sammy Blanchette. This has been a great episode of the Tasty Twist here at Okemo Valley TV in Ludlow, Vermont. I want to thank Rebecca, Peter, Patrick for all your guys' hard work. And we'll catch you next time. The next episode, we'll have Mr. Jim Yeager. Stay tuned. Thanks for supporting. Peace.
Don't you worry now, my darling.